Oh, hello, everyone. I'm Calahn de la Luna, and today I have a most wonderful special guest here for you, Harper Feist. For those of you who do not know her, she is one of our favorite instructors at the Blackthorne School, and she teaches a course on a topic that not enough people are talking about, which is scrying and how to scry. So Harper, thank you so much for joining us today. I have been really looking forward to this.
Oh, me too, Calahn. Thanks so much for having me. And for the benefit of the listening audience, all the instructors are the favorite instructors.
That is also true. I'm not picking favorites. They're just all my favorite. So yeah, let's kick this off. Just get right in there. Can you tell us a bit about your background in the occult and as a magical practitioner? What sorts of currents do you work in, and maybe which ones do you have past experience with?
Well, I guess I'm not a spring chicken anymore, although I
could have fooled me.
I behave like a 12-year-old most of the time. But so I've been around the block. I probably developed an interest in all of this stuff when I was a teenager, like a lot of people, I'm sure, right? You start, individuating, and then you don't want anything to do with the religion of your fathers or so. But I started to think about this stuff when I went to college, where I started to think about not only the presence of women in religion, and being a little bit bummed that women are basically have no place especially had no place in the Lutheran Church where I grew up.
Yes, thank you.
Right, and in point of fact, I was the first female acolyte ever at the church I attended, and I've been kind of religiously motivated my whole life, but there was no place for me there. And I started to think about that, and I realized that not only do women not really have a place in patriarchal religion, but there's the goddess Mary, right? Mary is indeed an important and very potent goddess. But, women send the species forward. We give birth.
Yes.
And so none of that sort of juice was presented to me as a Christian. And as you'll get to know, as the audience will learn shortly, I'm an experimentalist, and basically, if it's not immediately dangerous to life and health, I'll try it. And when I ran into some dirty hippie goddess worshipers as an undergraduate, I was sold on it. And it played into my interest in alchemy too. So I began my witchlet career at probably 17 or 18. The whole alchemy thing it got me involved in the science that I do. It never really left my consciousness, I suppose. I have done fairy working. I have been an active participant of Reclaiming, which is a California-based, very politically active group of witches. I went from that to martial arts for a little while, and martial arts is magic enough. We can say more.
Oh yes.
And then then I started sort of by accident doing ceremonial stuff.
By accident.
Well, I think we'll probably talk about the accident part, but
I would love to hear all about it.
Yeah, that was actually exciting.
And that's maybe one of the paths where I would least expect someone to say they started it accidentally, but
well, I sort of people are going to figure out here pretty soon that I'm a devotee of Kate, And that also happened largely by accident.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you are, you know, not to be too trite, but when your life is at a crossroads, you should try anything. You should try the things that you haven't done before. So,
Yes.
you know, both of those things kind of fit in that category. And in the middle, you know, throughout the last 12 years, I guess, I've been involved with Thelema, both in my involvement with the OTO, Ordo Templi Orientis, and the Shoemaker line of the AA, where I'm an active student.
Yeah, you have a wealth of experience, and I definitely consider you to be somebody who I look up to your level of knowledge and experience. And I think you are very spot on that it's harder for women to come to a place of learning and status that you are in, even in the occult world.
You know,
despite how, maybe a lot of us came to it to become more empowered, but, there is still a lot of residue from, other faith systems that does continue to affect practitioners.
I would say that, but then there's also, how to even put this, so many women, let me just use the example of the OTO, the people who develop conferences, for example, mostly women, the people who run local bodies in the United States, more than 50% women. And I think women, because of what we said before, we have the babies, we create living environments, and we do food and all this kind of stuff. That kind of predilection kind of moves forward with us into the occult community, such that I think, and you should say something about this too, but I think we're just not natively as loud as the guys.
Yes.
And so that maybe that comes to the guys as us not knowing our stuff, but really it's just not us wanting to write it all down because we want to move on to the next thing. It's really us not caring who takes the credit for things. I think
and we've been socialized since day one to shut up and listen a lot of times. I know I was, and it's been a continual process to be able to speak confidently and even loudly at times, and to feel like I can take up space in the world and I can be big too. Yes. And I think that's something that almost every woman in our culture struggles with.
Well, I think, what a great topic to start off on. I think we all struggle with that balance. And let me say just a little bit more about it. We may, on an individual level, some people are really loud and some people are really quiet, but occult work demands both of us.
Yes.
Right? And even with you, think about Eliphas Levi and the powers of the Sphinx, or Crowley's powers of the Sphinx, which at the end of his life, there were 5 of them. But to be silent is one of the powers of the Sphinx. And we should never, and this plays directly into my class, because my class is basically, an adventure in advanced listening.
I love that.
Which is
sit with that for a moment. And this class is an adventure in advanced listening. And not many people seem to really want to listen. I think a lot of people think they want to listen, but then when it comes down to it, where is listening coming into their practice? Let me tell you, one of the biggest things that propelled my practice to new heights was simply taking regular time to sit down and listen to my spirits. And this is huge. And I hope people don't miss this, because I don't think people are talking about it a whole lot, but I think it is incredibly important.
Well, it's been identified, I think, for forever as a spiritual goal and a spiritual skill. And, so it's really important to have the loud and proud thing. And, trust me, I'm a professional scientist, and I'm the one woman in the room always. So I've had to learn how to do that and not actually be too much of a bitch most of the time. But also,
well, you know how I feel about that word bitch, but for those who don't know, I kind of, again, with women not being as empowered to speak up, I think, we get called a lot of things when we are standing in our power, when we are speaking up, and when we are an expert and an authority. And it's harder for women a lot of times to be respected in their own right in those positions of authority. So I find you and your work and your positions in several different organizations in a place of power, in a place of authority, as highly, highly admirable.
Well, thank you. I will say that sometimes being the only woman in the room is a giant bummer.
Yeah, tell me about it.
But also there's tremendous power there, because nobody really knows what to expect. I can be infinitely more insulting than the guys without ever getting sent to HR. I can say incredibly inappropriate things, and it's okay. I can tease them. I can insult them. And okay, because they do it to each other, it's fine. But I can really push the envelope in terms of getting people to listen to me using humor and absurdity, actually.
One of the things I find really charming about you is your use of humor, and you're not all staunch and serious. You're a really genuinely fun person to engage with, and I think that a lot of your students probably enjoy that about you.
I think they would call me goofy. Yeah.
And I think part of being empowered is knowing when to soften.
And I think that plays into the silence thing too, right? When we soften, okay, so if you've ever been with somebody that you've really trusted, feel vulnerable. You can feel vulnerable.
Yes.
This is a thing that we need to give ourselves permission to do on purpose. And it's especially people who are super linear and very goal oriented and have primarily masculine tendencies.
Absolutely.
And I'm pointing my finger squarely at me. It's a absolutely brilliant thing when I find somebody with whom I don't have to be, responsible all the time.
Isn't that a relief? And I think the flip side of the coin is when we as women do step into positions of authority or power, whatever that means or looks like, or being in charge in some way. We do need those safe spaces to really step out of that role for a while and recharge and be able to let our guard down without fear of having it used against us.
Yeah, and there's a spiritual component to that. Part of this whole scrying thing is being relaxed and confident enough in the environment to honestly let go in a way that we don't, or in ordinary, in real life, whatever that means.
Yes.
We don't do it. And so I would say that the primary reason that I wanted to offer the class is just to bring up the fact that that's necessary. I have
Yes.
ideas about how to do it, but the fact that it's necessary to do the work makes it hard for almost everyone who lives in, corporate reality or, our consumerist society, I would say, possibly.
Yeah, um, we're taught to do a lot of behaviors in our modern world that really actively go against a lot of the activities and behaviors that make people really effective occult practitioners.
Mhm. And too, uh, and this should go without saying, so I'll apologize, but only halfway. The skills that are required to be a really effective practitioner here are not necessarily the same ones that make you loud and proud, or that make you an
Yes.
effective author, or that puts you on the road to make money in this situation.
Mm-hmm.
Those two things are in some aspects completely different. And
I
when
completely agree.
and so when people have been pestering me for quite a while, when are you going to write a book, when are you going to do this, when are you going to do that, and I'm like, come on, my spiritual practice is a relief from my real life. I don't, it's actually service when they do overlap. It's service to
Yes.
other people. It's not, I'm not, I am, like I said, like I've been saying, I am writing a book on scrying, and it's service, right? I write,
Ooh, so
I,
exciting.
I write and I do research for a living. And to do
Mm-hmm.
that for everyone out there, that is a service. It's
Oh
not,
yeah, that is a great gift that you are willing to do that. Just, I mean, oh my goodness, any book is a labor of love, and it kind of takes on this persona almost as one's child. It's kind of your
yeah,
creative
exactly right.
baby, and it's, you never do it just for money. And most authors will tell you, yeah, I don't make much
Mm,
money on my book itself. Like, if you paid me for every hour I spent writing the book, it would be below minimum wage type of thing. Like, most books are a complete service to the community and a complete labor of love. So I do really admire that you are
right.
doing that.
Most of us, if we were in this for the bucks, all of this time would be better spent pushing forth our professional career. And
Right?
so I know that's super true for me.
Me too. Yeah.
And but I want to help people do this thing that I kind of know how to do, and this is one way to reach people.
Yeah. I
So,
mean,
so here we go.
and you've been around long enough to know what works and what might not be helpful, especially to people starting out. And I see you just giving this incredible level of thought to things that most people aren't even capable of thinking those things, much less communicating them to other
Hmm.
people. So, that's one of the reasons why I tremendously support your work and your course and you.
Well, I super, as you're well aware, I really appreciate your support. But my my foundational position on all this stuff is that everybody can do this.
Hmm.
And just because they haven't thought about the exercises or philosophy behind this, the fact that people have bodies, and that we've all of this material that we're made of has been on the earth for so long, and we all
Hmm.
function more or less the same. If you have a body and the will to do this work, you can totally do this work. It may not,
Absolutely.
no, it may not look exactly like the way I do it or the way that you do it, but everyone has the capability
Mm,
to listen
yeah,
deeply. We all can do that. We
that
all
is
should.
so inspiring. And circling kind of back to some of our original questions, I know we've just been having this great kind of spontaneous
Mhm.
discussion here. And so where does all this come into? I mean, I would love for you to tell us a little bit about scrying for those. I mean, I would imagine most people watching this video know what scrying is, but just to make sure we're all on the same page, maybe
Mhm.
you could share with us just a tiny bit about what is scrying, and then also what first interested you in scrying, and what did your learning process look like?
Well, that's a bunch of questions at once. Let me see. So I will say, traditionally, scrying is the act of encountering spirits. And in
Mm,
typical ceremonial magic, people do this with let's call it vision. So they use their heads and their eyes to see something that is expected to be there based on a ceremony, which is based on a script, and there are these catalogs of demons with little pictures, so that if you wanted to cheat and go look and see what Bune looks like, you could do that. You could basically predict your whole experience or front load your whole experience that way. But and okay, so that's what most people see this whole scrying thing is doing. But I want to redefine that as sort of an imaginative trance that's used to get information or to cause change.
mm,
So
an
when
imaginative,
Mhm.
excuse me, I'm not pronouncing it well, an
Mhm.
imaginative trance that is used to gain information or cause change. I mean, it sounds like not only a receptive practice, but an active practice.
well,
And that
that
might be a surprise to many people watching this video.
I think the passive part of this is pretty clear. Um, the listening part. But in order to have a conversation with someone, you have to dial the phone.
You know how
So,
you have to know how to pick up and dial the phone.
exactly. So, if you're going to call your friend, you pick up your phone and look up their telephone number, and then you talk to them. So that's the active part, or that's some subset of the active part. So either you or the other operator calls the spirit or the deity or the demon or your pet cat or the guy next door or whatever, and then you listen. So if it's a guy next door, what you'll do is talk to him about his smoker and about his beagle. It's a script. So the
Mm-hmm.
smoker and the beagle is the thing that we talk with the neighbor about. And if we call the demon for a reason. It could be, hey, how come you like to talk to people? Or it could be, can you help me find where I lost my wallet? Or it could be, hey, Mr. Demon, this mean dude is pestering a friend of mine. Why don't you go and make him stop?
Mm-hmm. Oh, and just to press pause for a moment here as a little side note, I know some practitioners are very comfortable with the word demon, but others might kind of be like, ugh.
Oh, yeah,
Could
sure.
you maybe just speak really quickly to what you're referencing with demon?
Well, so a demon classically is a terrestrial spirit. So
Mhm.
it's something that's kind of close to us on the chain of manifestation here.
Yeah, a
So
spirit close to us, an
yeah,
earth-based spirit, right?
I think so. that this notion, the word demon comes from the Greek daimon, which just means
Mm-hmm.
spirit.
Mm-hmm.
In general, the notion of demon came from a dead hero, kind of a dead local hero. So, you know, and I should say, before there were Christians, of course, demons had nothing to do with Christianity. So
Yeah.
that's pre-Christian. And then there was a period of time when daimones, which is the plural of the Greek word, just had to do with spirits. And then all of this, the word demon got mapped onto all sorts of really heinous things.
Mm-hmm.
But that's actually a very Christian view of the thing.
Absolutely.
So I say demons when I mean terrestrial spirits.
Mm-hmm.
And
Thank you for clarifying. I just
yeah,
wanted to make sure that nobody got, spooked away because they were misunderstanding what we were talking about. So
yeah. So a person can get the heebie-jeebies, and you can go and conjure, Lucifuge or Rofocall, or you can play
yeah,
those.
just like you can go walk in the woods looking for an apex predator like a bear, or you could go looking for butterflies, like, just like there are lots of different animals, there are lots of different spirits, some predatory, some not, and it largely depends. The level of predation depends on who's asking, right?
Right, and actually that's a pretty decent analogy, right? So if you want to go after something that frightens you, then you need to be prepared.
You need to bring the appropriate precautions. You need to be trained in how to keep yourself safe if the unthinkable happens. You need to know how to make contact in a way that's relatively safe. So many things that go into that sort of work, which is, not the vast majority of what a lot of occult practitioners do, just for obvious reasons. Like most of us aren't, wildlife biologists that research bears by living with the bears, same thing with witches and occult practitioners. A lot of us, might not choose to go to that level.
Mm-hmm. And yet bears are not evil.
No.
And bears serve an enormously important part in the ecosystem.
Oh, yes.
Yes. So sometimes you have to go and talk to the bears, and other times you don't.
Mm-hmm.
And
a world without bears, it would profoundly and permanently change the ecosystem for the worst, as would eradicating any species, right?
Well, I wonder actually if our invisible friends are eradicable. Actually, I know we're actually putting the squeeze on the Earth's ecosystem, but whether or not you can actually eradicate demons is an interesting question.
Right.
So,
but maybe taking this metaphor further, because I guess I got to ride it all the way home, but wildlife biologist metaphor,
right?
If we as occult practitioners are, enchanted and propelled by the study of spirits and the study of working with spirits, of understanding spirits. So spirits, the metaphor here being animals and us being the wildlife biologists. Like if we just completely ignored bears, ignored their existence, didn't care what happened to them, didn't, practice any sort of awareness one way or the other about the fact that they could show up, we would be missing a big piece of the puzzle. And yet maybe different wildlife biologists might not focus on bears, and different practitioners might not focus on some of the more intense and potentially dangerous spirits, but yet, it might be beneficial to have tools to know what to do if.
Well, certainly that's true, but I think that what I said about by having a body and being therefore capable of scrying is also, we're capable of stopping a trance. we're capable of, coming out and eating a hamburger. We're capable of coming out mostly and doing math or whatever. We can stop all this stuff at any time because we have a body.
Mm-hmm.
And so the business about who to call, that is entirely up to the practitioner and the purpose at hand. But we shouldn't be afraid to extend ourselves this way, because we can totally turn it off. In fact, it's hard to turn it on.
Right. It's definitely harder to turn it on in most cases than to turn it off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I very rarely have I been afraid. Right. I mean,
that does not surprise me about you.
So,
and I would say that is a rare quality.
So
a lot of my students are kind of like, oh, do I like, I'm going to try this practice, but I'm kind of afraid who's going to show up. And I'm like, well, okay. So like, if I'm going on a walk in the woods, I'm probably not going to meet a bear or even anything that could really mortally damage me. So, mostly just explore and have fun with it and try things out, see what happens. It's a very safe practice in general. And
I think so. Right. Yeah. So I've done some things that were a little bit unnerving, but the things I do in my real life are much more scary. Trust me.
Yeah. I mean, I have a lot of people who I tell that I'm a witch and who respond, oh, well, I'm so afraid of the dark. And oh, spirits, that's really scary stuff. Like, how are you not scared? And I'm thinking, well, I mean, like, I'm not afraid of a lot of animals, and spirits are very wildly different. But I mean, I think a lot of people are just afraid of what they don't understand or don't have very much information or direct experience with.
I think, but there's a thing about that. If a given practice or event doesn't evoke the frisson of fear, it's probably, at least the fear of the unknown, it's probably not really worth doing.
Yeah, pushing oneself outside of your comfort zone.
Exactly. So if you can stay home and watch TV, or you can come out here and actually live.
Yeah.
What I'm not saying is that scrying is in any way necessary to coming out here and actually living, but doing things that push the envelope, that make you a little bit uncomfortable, I think that is the nuts and bolts of actually being alive.
Yeah. And when we just live a completely safe life, where's the fun in that? Where's the excitement? Where's the joy? Yeah.
Yeah. And I'd rather do things that make me a little nervous. Actually. And I guess I probably live that way on every dimension, right? I kind of live in two different places, and I have a job that's occasionally dangerous, not as dangerous as some jobs I've had, and I'm super interested in kind of exploring all the tech around scrying and around kind of ritual in general. And so you were asking me like half an hour ago, kind of what I'm up to these days. And it turns out, I continue my OTO working. I'm an ordained priestess and I do that, but also I think I mentioned I'm very infatuated with the magic of late antiquity, and there's the PGM stuff, but also early Christian workings, which look an amazing amount like the PGM, and before that, it's like, what did people used to do? Where did the where did the mysteries come from? What is a mystery school? All that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Super,
Oh,
super
such
interesting.
delicious questions.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean that's kind of where I am now, right?
What would it have been like to be a part of a mystery school?
Right.
Harper, maybe we should just create our own modern day mystery school. I mean, that's kind of what we're trying to do a little bit here, but
Like
maybe we need to take it to the next level.
yeah, so there might be some initiatory needs there, but you're right. Exactly.
I think I know a thing or two about initiatory experience.
It's possible.
Not to diverge any further. So you were saying, well, I am so curious to know a little bit more specifics about your scrying practice, and what tools do you typically use to scry? What is the most unusual thing you've used to scry?
Well, I don't think the tools are so important, actually. The tool that you scry with is this, right?
Yes, yes.
So
your body is your most important tool.
Absolutely. So that's really important, but stuff to look at is really helpful. The thing that I really, when I really need to scry and I need to not have to mess with things, I have a big pile of silver dishes that I bought from some thrift store. I forget. And they sit inside one another, so such that you look at the surface of any of these mirrored bowls, right? They're silver. So I polish them up really well, and every single surface that I look at is confusing. I can't tell what I'm looking at, even if I'm looking at my own face. It's utter confusion, and my brain goes exactly where I need it to go in the presence of this stack of silver bowls. And further, when I have my stack of silver bowls, and they're filled with things that remind me of the spirit or deity that I'm summoning, I have a set of ambient music that I play just a little bit too loud. It's kind of irritating. That will throw me into a trance. And it's like acid. It's like a drug. Only, it's completely legal, and I'm not actually altering my body chemistry. It's just that my brain thinks I've been messed with in that way, and it's like a surefire thing. On the other hand, that works fine, and on the other hand, water works fine, and on the other hand, a bowl full of wine is ridiculously effective.
Yeah.
And so there are various PGM rites that talk about bowls of water with olive oil floating on the top. Wine with olive oil on the top is super trippy.
I've heard of black ink being used.
Total black mirrors. Yeah,
black stones, like black obsidian rounds.
Yeah. So all of those things, they have a thing in common, and that is the evocation of visual confusion. So, your brain doesn't do so well with that, it turns out, and the place that you go when you can't decide what you're looking at is a useful tool to all of this stuff. So, I talk a little bit about that in the class, but mostly, people need to decide for themselves how to come to that point where they can't tell what they're looking at. And so their brain is like trying to explain, what is that? What is that? What is that? And it answers in pulses. And those pulses can be, is that a person? Is it a horse? Is it a cloud? No, it's a noodle. No, it's whatever. And so when you're going through that analysis of what is that, it's like you look at a cloud and you say, well, It's a buffalo. No, it's a fat guy. No, it's a dinner biscuit. No. And when you go through this in your head, it loosens up this need to plan. It loosens up the need to explain. It loosens you into this imaginative place where you can actually do this kind of non-standard working,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah. Kind of circumvents that internal gatekeeper that says,
Oh,
no, you need to be right here in
right.
the present world,
Uh-huh.
thinking about what's for dinner, you know?
That gatekeeper is off, and he's doing something completely unrelated at that point. You're absolutely right about that.
Yeah.
Right on.
Well, could you tell us really quickly what people can expect to learn in your course and what drew you to offer a course in scrying? What do you feel sets your course apart from other courses on the topic?
Well, I don't know that there are so many people out there who are trying to teach this sort of thing.
Yeah, I don't think I know of any, maybe.
So I think the closest it gets is there's some Eastern European people who are really effectively teaching lucid dreaming. So I mean, that's close, but so I want to say my class is really different because it doesn't focus on any given spiritual path. It's completely agnostic. If you were an atheist, the things that you learn in my class would still be useful.
Wow,
So it will make you a better
that
parent.
is a lot to say about a class. I mean, that's fantastic.
Well, so it is, that's why I'm, kind of almost jokingly calling it a class in advanced listening, because that's good for everybody and everything. And it's system agnostic. The people who were in my second cohort class, they ranged from people who are also taking Jack's PGM class, to people who are involved with Robin's stuff, to people who are in Jason Miller's class, to people who completely solitary. And they ranged. We had 2 PhD scientists in the last one. Oh my God, and we're the weirdest people. So so the folks that show up for these classes, the backgrounds that they bring are amazingly rich.
I think part of the real treat of taking this in the course format, the online course format, is being able to interact with this beautiful cohort of practitioners with all different sorts of life experiences and practices and understandings, and everyone ends up learning due to what is shared, not just the students. I mean, I know as an instructor, I've learned a lot from my own courses, and just what other people have to share, their questions, like the way they think about things. More than one time, it's made me go, oh, I'd never even thought of that. And you're asking this question in my intro class, even though I've practiced for years, but
so and that speaks to the fact that we're all kind of programmed little robots, and working with other people kind of kicks you out of your own programming. And this isn't just, that's, I almost never even refer to it as a class, right? This is just, it's an adventure with other people who want to think about the same thing. And so
come connect with all these really fascinating people that want to learn about the same things you do and want to practice and discuss all this really juicy, exciting topic.
Right. And so the thing is, there's the structure of the course is there's a video component. So all the videos were, half an hour long, where okay, here, so because of my professional background, they're mostly PowerPoints. So we have PowerPoints to discuss issues of history, of depth of possession, of how to get into the trance place, all this kind of stuff. So people watch, they watch the videos, and then we talk about it electronically, right? So we have a basis of discussion where I provide the initial discussion points and people will write. And then periodically we'll have Zoom meetings where we get together and talk open, just kind of talk openly about, were you scared? What happened when you did X? Is it actually hard to listen to your own emotions when you get rid of all of the intellectual stuff? These kind of questions. And I want to say that I learned in cohort 2 that those the Zoom discussions were the very best part of this. So I have invited a couple of people back from previous sessions to, help me with the class and keep the energy up, but also this cohort is actually going to help me write this book. The questions that they ask, the experiences they have during the exercises that I provide, is going to, help propel me forward, and also help propel them forward, I hope.
Yeah, I mean, they really get the next level experience because you are really taking a deep dive. I know from, I'm working on my own book too, and it really makes you dive into the information on an even deeper level than anyone who hasn't done that process before could imagine. So I do think right now this is probably going to be a very special cohort in your class, just due to the fact that you are in this book writing and birthing process in a way, because it's that's a profound creative.
It feels like that. Exactly. I'm so looking forward to this batch.
Good.
The people who have taken part in the Q&As have been so engaging, and in a couple of cases just hysterically funny.
Oh man, you got some characters in there. That's exciting.
Yeah, I'm always honored to do this work, and I do see it as a service. But I will say it's joyful service, and I have such a good time.
Yeah. Well, I have heard nothing but glowing, raving reviews about your course from other students I've talked to, and of course me on the, behind the scenes. Just really impressed with the level of quality and the depth of wisdom and guidance you provide. So I think anybody that's on the fence about taking your course, I hope that this interview answered a lot of questions. And, I do want to just reaffirm that this course is for anybody that has an interest in the topic. And, we can see here, Harper, I mean, she has a lot of wonderful advanced experience in this and can answer all kinds of questions, no matter what your path is, no matter what your worldview is. And I think that is a profoundly special component of this course. Is there anything else, Harper, that you feel like is important to add?
I have one more thing. So you audience people, before Calahn and I started talking, we shared some questions, and one of the questions she shared was, what do you say to people who are kind of afraid to do this work, or have the brakes on for some reason? And what I want to say to those folks is, class or no class, you should try this stuff. If you're on the fence about doing magical operations, you should just do them. If you're on the fence about changes in your life, you should do them. But mostly, if you want to be a magical practitioner, go and practice magic.
Yes, absolutely that.
Hmm. And that would be my final word on that topic. And also, you know, if people want to get a hold of me, I am the only Harper Feist on Facebook. And if you appear in my PM with questions, I will answer them.
Yes, and I can attest Harper is very friendly and won't bite much. No, I'm just kidding. Harper is very approachable and happy to answer questions. I'm happy to answer any questions.
And Calahn also does not bite, I think.
Not you anyway, but
not me. She might bite you.
But I do hope that anyone watching this video will, you know, consider a lot of what we discussed and really look at what the, you know, if you take one thing away from this video, regardless of or not of whether you take the course, but just this act of taking regular time, making it intentional, making it a priority to spend time in deep listening with your spirits, whatever path you're in. I really do think that our world needs people to take that sort of time for themselves for so many reasons. And it can be both healing and it can, you know, really inspire you to move forward in your life in the way that you're needing and wanting. And it is truly the foundation of a beautiful, multidimensional, magical practice.
You're here. And if you can't listen to your spirits, God damn it, listen to your mom.
No. Yes. Well, thank you so much for joining us, everyone. And we do hope to see you in the Scrying course offered by Harper Feist through the Blackthorne School.
Thanks so much, Calahn. See you.